I think this is the most frequently asked question in the diversity visa lottery application, interviews, and coming to America, is the question about sponsorship. Do you need to have a sponsor? And secondly, do you need to fill the affidavit of support form? These two related questions are very crucial for you to understand everything about being given the visa and possible being denied the visa. Let me start with one thing. Aspect of sponsorship. The diversity visa lottery is not a sponsorship green card based. Unlike the green card by employment, green card by family, a family member, a US citizen, is sponsoring you to get a permanent resident if you get married, or a US citizen can sponsor a person, the father, the son, the daughter, the spouse, whatever the siblings. A green card holder can sponsor a spouse and the children, whatever it is. That is a sponsorship. Company A can sponsor you to get a green card. But the diversity visa lottery is not a sponsorship green card system. If it is a sponsorship, it is the US government which is endorsing you, which is sponsoring you, which is giving you that card. By you are the winner. So if you have the first notification letter, you have been selected by the Department of State. So your sponsor is the Department of State. So let me clear that one. Let me go to number 2. To go to the affidavit of support. If you go to the website of travel.state.gov or to the Department of State website, in all the processes of the diversity visa lottery, application, preparing for the interview, coming to America, there is no any mention of the affidavit of support. It is not required in any instruction. The consular officer doesn't need to request for that particular document according to the instructions. In addition to that that's why under Trump's administration, they introduced something called public charge, though it was later removed. To prove that if you come here, you are not going to be public charge. And the form started with the word DS, means it's a Department of State form to be applicable to the US Embassy. But affidavit of support, whether it's I-864 or I-134, those start with I, they are under different department. USCIS, it's under the Homeland, not the Department of State, not applicable to the US Embassy. That's why even the public charge form starts with the DS. But that form is no longer there. So, by regulations, the affidavit of support is not required. But some of the embassies do require the applicant to fill the affidavit of support. It is your responsibility to know if your embassy requires that. If you are the winner, you can write the email to the US Embassy in your country. Do you require this document before the interview? You can ask that. For instance, the US Embassy in Kenya, in Nairobi, they require affidavit of support. US Embassy in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, don't require that kind of documentation. So you need to know which embassy does that. And not everybody is allowed to fill the affidavit of support if it's required by your embassy. For instance, the Embassy of Harare requires that. So in the documents, they will send you the email before the interview. These are the documents we expect you to come with those documents. One among is the affidavit of support. The affidavit of support is supposed to be filled by a US citizen or a green card holder. Not everyone. And the person must have a certain type of income, must also submit the tax documentation, tax transcript or tax return to show the income. Not everybody will be comfortable to hand to you those tax information, because in those tax information there is social security number, there is specific details of income related. Not everybody is able to handle to you. What if you print out and you forget somewhere, someone is using that one, create another identity? So there is a challenge for someone to give to you. So if someone says, I'm not giving you this one, don't feel this person is not trying to help you to come. They are protecting their identity, like social security and other information. Understandable. So if you want, someone can send that documentation direct to the embassy. And when you go to the embassy, that form will be there. You can ask the embassy, because one person I did it with the person that way. I say, I'm not sending to you. The person is sending me the email of the embassy, and I send it to the embassy direct. Because I didn't want the person to have the social security number of my entire family. No. Another thing is, your host is not necessarily to be the same person who is going to fill the affidavit of support. You can have the host, Ernest, who is international student. You can have John, American citizen, be filling the affidavit of support. And these people can be living in the two different states. There is no problem. So don't worry about that. A host can be any person, even international student. But the person filling the affidavit of support cannot be international student. Must be a US citizen or green card holder. So a host can be one person, the affidavit of support person filling can be another person. But that person is not your sponsor. It's just taking the responsibility of filling the affidavit of support. Sponsorship means I get married to American citizen, for instance. Without that marriage to American citizen, I'm not going to get. This person is going to say, oh, I'll be responsible for the money-wise if this person doing whatever by 1, 2, 3. But you didn't get the green card because of that affidavit of support. You got a green card because you won the diversity visa lottery. So the government sponsored you. The government gave you the green card because the government selected you. Different from me, when I got married to my wife, I got the green card because of the marriage, not because of the financial form. Any person can fill the financial form. My wife didn't make enough money, so we used external person to fill the affidavit of support. But in the end, what made me to get the green card is the marriage. So what makes you get the green card is the diversity visa selection, not you get the green card because of the affidavit of support. No. So make sure you know if your embassy needs that, and you have to start looking ahead. If you go to the US embassy on the day of the interview without affidavit of support, and for those embassies and consulates which require affidavit of support, they are not going to deny you the visa. They will say, we are putting your case in hold, go within maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, bring the affidavit of support, we are going to give you the visa. They are not going to say, you have been denied the visa. No. So just, you know, that is something you'll be required if the state, your embassy requires that. If it doesn't require, you are good to go. You don't need to worry anything about that.